Welcome back to our reflections on the Gospels, and today we're reflecting on the Gospel of the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time. So I invite you now to listen to the text. Great crowds accompanied him on his way, and he turned and spoke to them. Anyone who comes to me without hating father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. No one who fails to carry the cross and come after me can be my disciple. And indeed, which of you here, intending to build a tower, would not first sit down, work on the cost to see if you had enough to complete it? Otherwise, if you laid the foundation and then found yourself unable to finish the work, anyone who saw it would start making fun of you and saying, "Here is someone who started to build and was unable to finish." Or again, what king, marching to war against another king, would not first sit down and consider whether with 10,000 men he could stand up to the other king who had 20,000? If not, then while the other king was still a long way off, he would send envoys to negotiate peace. So in the same way, none of you can be my disciple without giving up all that you own. Again, I need to mention about the journey to Jerusalem section in the Gospel, because it really permeates everything that's been done about discipleship and judgment, etc. But focusing now on what we have here, that really what we've got here is a radical allegiance to Jesus. That notice that it's not just conflict with family members that he mentions here, but even life itself. And he goes on to emphasize that when he says that unless we are willing to take up the cross, to carry the cross. Now the cross in the time of Jesus would have meant public execution. But I think we have a more theological understanding of the cross, that the thing at Calvary is not what they did to Jesus, but what Jesus did. And what Jesus did, the heart of Jesus, is exposed in the agony in the garden. And in the agony in the garden, we see that the cross is about Jesus paying the cost of what the Father asked him to do. So really, the message there is that it takes a cost to be a disciple of Jesus, and that's something that we need to take into account. And the two stories that are associated with that are ones that I find I always enjoy them. That I think of things like statements we make: "Look before you leap." Angels, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Yeah. And I think that's what's being said here. That basically we've got to think about it. And I don't think we think about it enough. I think people come into the church, and it's not uncommon for people who come in through the RCIA to be keen for a while, but then to lose their keenness, as it were. So there's a sense in which we've got to try and keep up that allegiance to Christ. And I think that the two images there, are bringing out that very fact. And then the last bit there about even material things. You've got to have a detachment of material things, because some people, when they make a choice, it removes them from all the things they've got in life, all the comforts and things, because of the decision that they have made. And so that's how what Jesus is asking us to do. And I think he models what he's asking us to do in his passion, right? That he didn't want to do this, as it were. "Father, if it be possible, let this chalice pass from me." But he went ahead and did it. So I think that's the thing that is important. In a sense, it's the message that's been coming through over the last few Sundays, I think, the cost of following Jesus. And I think that It's a challenge. I think we don't think enough of what it means to make a full choice. I mentioned last week that I sometimes wonder whether I've made a full choice, and I like to reflect on that. But I think a lot of people go through the motions, right? They practice their faith out of habit, but do they recognise what it is that they committed themselves to when they decided to choose for Jesus?
It's very confronting. It is very confronting, these passages, and you say to yourself, how do I relate to that today in my life? And I think I have to say, when I look at people around who are carrying heavy crosses, and I would call them committed Catholics, I am prompted to think of Benedict in that understanding of daily conversion. In fact, as a Catholic woman, I feel as though I'm called to a daily conversion. Today, I place myself and ask God to be in my daily life, to do the best I can. And I look at other people around me who are really dealing with, I'd describe, really heavy, difficult crosses. And they're only getting through that with this daily prayer, saying, God, be with me, help me carry this cross today. Now, I find that takes my breath away, actually. It's quite moving in a profound way. I'm not quite sure, I don't think anyone gets to choose the cross. I think the crosses of life help you stay close to Jesus, because there's no other way through other than to lose all sense of purpose. And that's how I respond to this very confronting reading.
I think crosses give us the opportunity that we wouldn't choose ourselves, but just here it is, and you have to do it, I think.
And I know lots of people carrying heavy crosses, none of them their own choice.
That's right. There's a story, isn't there, of someone who was discontented with the cross that he or she had to carry, and so the Lord gave them the choice of all the crosses, and they ended up picking up the one they had. And I think that's true, isn't it?
So true.
That's true, just what you're saying, Virginia. And I'm thinking that, again, we said it a couple of weeks ago, choices sits here because the cross is a part of our life. We can't escape it. In one way or another, it's there. And in some ways it is a gift of God, isn't it? It truly is. And it's a gift that's leading to life, ultimately.
That's right.
And the only way, if it's a gift given by God, the only way we can accept it is by opening our hands and receiving, on the one hand, humility, and the other hand, the gift of prayer, and bringing both, harnessing them together as one, that gives us something to underpin the challenge of the choice that we make.
And I know this sounds a bit strange to you, but it helps each of us lean into the other person.
Yeah.
Because, Simon did help on that road.
Right, you did.
And in a way, to me, that's the Christian life, when you recognise and the other person allows you to help carry that cross for a little while.
Yeah.
That's the Catholic life, the Christian way.
Yeah. It's a good way of putting it. Thanks.
Thank you. We invite you now to look at the text. Remember, it is Jesus whom you are encountering. What might Jesus be saying to you as you read this particular gospel text? Welcome back. We invite you now to listen to the text again and to listen carefully for something that you yourself might pull out that you can implement in your life.
Great crowds accompanied him on his way, and he turned and spoke to them. Anyone who comes to me without hating his mother, father, wife, children, brothers, sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. No one who fails to carry the cross and come after me can be my disciple. And indeed, which of you here, intending to build a tower, would not first sit down, work out the costs to see if he had enough to complete it. Otherwise, if you laid the foundation and then found yourself unable to finish the work, anyone who saw it would start making fun of you and saying, "Here is someone who started to build and was unable to finish." Or again, what king marching to war against another king would not first sit down and consider whether with 10,000 men he could stand up to the other who was advancing against him with 20,000? If not, then while the other king was still a long way off, he would send envoys to negotiate peace. So, in the same way, none of you can be my disciple without giving up all that you own.
I was thinking last week that I might ask, have I made the choice to the fullest extent? And in the light of what we were saying, I thought that the way to measure that is to how one is looking at the difficulties and the trials that are there in one's life. So I thought I might just look at those difficult things in my life at the moment and just see, am I recognising in them the opportunity to come closer to Jesus?
What struck me really was that last line about giving up all that you own. So it's a slight variation when they build a cross or go into war. It's about, is my attention to the things I own getting in the way of my true purpose in life? Am I neglecting that while I look after the material things? I'd like to take a closer look.
It's a struggle for me for the comfort. Everything is, when I feel comfortable, everything is okay. But if something doesn't go my way, then that becomes a challenging moment. So what do I do in those moments? Do I see that I've got to give something of myself in order that I can receive something that's greater than myself in a situation? And that greatest gift is, it's God, and it reminds me of the footprints prayer. That I can, go along quite happily, but when the chips are down, then the footprints prayer suggests that it's someone else, because there's only the one set of footprints, and that's God who's carrying me.
Well, we invite you now to have a look for that practical section that you can draw and implement in your life. Lectio begins in the scriptures, it ends in your life. So we invite you now to pick out something that you can apply. What we're doing is something supernatural. It's part of our relationship with Jesus. So we need Jesus to help us to make the application, to give us the strength and the courage and the wisdom to actually make that application in our life. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate the time that you give to us. I don't invite you often to go to our website, but at the moment on our website I am doing a commentary on the Gospel of Luke, not just on the Gospels of the Sundays, but a Gospel comment on the whole of the Gospel. We've only just started, so you might like to look into that. So we conclude now by reading the prayer from the Sunday Gospel of the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time.
O God, by whom we are redeemed and receive adoption, look graciously upon your beloved sons and daughters, that those who believe in Christ may receive true freedom and an everlasting inheritance through Christ our Lord.